Welcome to Podlemania Podcast, your photography and video podcast, where we introduce you to some of the most amazing creatives from around the world. I'm your host, Wayne Johns, and I'm here with my good friend, buddy, and co-host, Jake Hicks. Hey, man.
How you doing, buddy? You good?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm better now because we've just had a shit ton of problems with audio, haven't we?
I am not a fan of audio. Yeah, I mean, I barely know how to operate my own camera, let alone a microphone. So, I mean, you know, yeah, I could. Yeah, the old microphone has now been tossed down the street, so we're using this one now.
Using this one, yeah. I mean, there you are. You're gifted with a nice new audio interface, a brand new microphone sealed in a box, new headphones, plugged it in, and it didn't work. Amazing. I know. Amazing. The world.
Who would have thought that we would have been unprepared is unbelievable.
I know, mate. I mean, you know, there's nothing about us that's last minute at all, is there? No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So,
still glad we managed to secure this last minute interview, though, podcast. This will be a good one.
Me and this guest earlier, we had a chat on the phone as we were both doing our morning duties. And I think...
Oh, you primed him, did you?
I think we recorded a whole episode without actually recording anything, but it was a good session. I should have just hit bloody record. It was awesome.
Oh, I'll see myself out.
With all the road noise and traffic noise from both of us and everything. It was cool. Right, well, shall we get into this episode?
Let's do it.
Yeah, we won't talk about anything photographic for us today because, I mean, just briefly, we're both meant to be at a particular photo and video show, which is just being obviously cancelled due to the coronavirus outbreak. So, we've got some spare time on our hands for a couple of days.
Yeah. I know, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could look at it like that as a good thing. Yeah. Day off, finally.
Day off. Okay, well, welcome to episode 24, everybody. And today we're going to be talking with Archie Brooksbank, who's the founder and the man behind Bladesman Productions. He's a multi-award-winning self-shooting director. I hope I've titled that right, Archie, for you. Who's produced some amazing ads, commercials, and content for clients like Aston Martin, Triumph, Tom Ford, the BBC, Estee Lauder, Rolls-Royce, and many, many more. And to add a bit more fun to this show, this is actually another two-part episode. So this is the first part, this is episode 24, and the second part of this will come in episode 25. So keep your ears tuned for the release of that one. Archie, welcome to the show, man. It's a pleasure to have you on, and I think this one is going to be a blast.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I love that. That's good. Can I have that?
We can license that to you for a small fee.
Although I would have preferred it done in your more presenter voice, which is the start of the show.
All right.
So welcome to the Photography and Video Podcast, brought to you by Syntax.
I can do that for you if you want me to. Make it a little bit more warm tone, and sexy. I can
have that
as
your voicemail message.
Yeah.
Voiceovers, here I come.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on the show. I love the show, and it's an honour and a privilege to be here talking to you fine gentlemen.
Thank you, good man. Well, Charlie, we're going to go... Charlie? I called you Charlie, not Archie. Sorry.
It's weird. A lot of people do. They call me Charlie.
I have no idea.
No, but you're not the first. Like, when people get the name wrong, they go, oh, Charlie. So it's not. If a couple of years ago, I might have been offended. I might have walked off now. But, I'm not. I like it.
Well, that's a good cock up the start of the show. I wouldn't worry about it. A lot of people call me John for some reason, don't they? Jake?
Oh, yeah, that was brilliant. That was
presenter and
literally all the way through the episode as well. He kept calling me John, wasn't it?
Priceless.
That was brilliant, wasn't it? Okay, Archie, I mean, straight in, for our audience, how would you describe yourself and what you do?
I'd describe myself as a philanthropist, philosopher, caregiver, and good close friend. No, that's all bollocks. I just always wanted to say that. I don't even know what a philanthropist is, but I always like it when they go on a show like, this is Ned Schneebly, pronounced Schneebly, philanthropist, writer and comedian. But no, I don't know where I'm really going with that, but I've always wanted to say it, so there it is. I'm a filmmaker, photographer, and as you said, I kind of make content for brands and do a couple of TV shows, and try and have fun doing it.
Nice, man, nice. Now, as we all know, there are many strings to the production bow, so to speak, in our industry. So, what areas of moving image and photography do you and your company cover?
So it's mainly branded content. And that be that film, stills, GIFs, memes, and then design, visual content, basically anything visual that goes with a campaign, mainly online. But then we also do, we partner up with other companies to do TV shows.
Okay.
So we mainly do the production side of that. Mainly because I came from a TV background, so I kind of wanted to always keep my hand in it, but not have to deal with all the bullshit that goes around the actual creating it. So yeah, that's kind of the main stuff that we do. And then, we try, really it's sort of content that's more comedy based or high octane testosterone based, if that makes sense.
Nice.
How long have you been doing this, Archie?
So subconsciously, pretty much since I was about 5. Consciously, since I was about 20, and unconsciously since I was 20 to 26, and then conscious again around 26. And now I'm an adult, apparently. So yeah, it's fully conscious now, which is great.
You are. I mean, am I allowed to say? Obviously, you've just had another new baby.
Yes, you can. That's probably why most of this is making absolutely no sense whatsoever and sounds like dribble. But we've just had a child, second child.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thank you. So that's that's intense, amazing. But yeah, it's intense.
That's intense, or teepees, but we'll get to that later in the show, won't we?
Yes.
Jake's looking really confused about what that is.
I've got one
Oh,
ready.
I see.
I've got one ready.
Right.
Yeah.
Nipple caps. Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. So, I mean, what made you get into this business then? I mean, and where did you learn your skills from? I think that's an important thing our listeners would want to get the background on you.
Well, I was fortunate or unfortunate, however you look at it, to go to public school. I consider I was very fortunate to have gone. But one of the downfalls or pitfalls of those sorts of schools is that they kind of poo-poo the creative industry. Art, that's a hobby, not a subject. Or it's music, that was a hobby. It's not a subject. That when you go to sort of the A levels, I'm really interested in doing art and music. Where are the proper subjects? Like maths and English. You can't get a job with fucking music. Literally, that's what they said to me. So I was like, oh, okay. So it's sort of drummed in at an early age that these are just like fun, frivolous pursuits that you do in your spare time.
Yeah.
So I came out of school kind of, looking to, be a music lawyer or a sports agent, which she was in. I still wanted to do something within those sort of more quirky jobs. But, I was actually an artist. I always made stuff, whether it was art or film or photography or music. That's what I loved doing. But because of the sort of the public school ethos, I came out thinking I needed to have a proper profession, in inverted commas.
I get you.
And then it was actually a bit of a cliche, really. I went traveling and found myself. But, I did go traveling and kind of, worked out that I was a bit more of an artist.
Yeah.
And luckily the super cybins of magic mushrooms helped me get to the point that it was a possibility to actually do it as a job.
Wow.
So anyway, I went to university and I was actually doing sports coaching at the time and sort of dabbling it on the side, making videos. Yeah. And I made a film called Extraordinary People at music festivals, which was just about weirdos with weird talents, basically. Anyone who I found sort of interesting with a strange talent, I kind of filmed them and then did a bit of story. And when my friends would come round, I would sort of almost live edit. I would be showing them the clips and they'd be pissing themselves or crying or laughing or getting angry or whatever it was that I was showing them. And it just felt amazing, like showing people this stuff that I'd captured, and I was like, right, I actually it's quite annoying having to sort of rummage through the clips. So I taught myself how to edit on this site called Jump Cut, which is kind of sort of around just before the YouTube boom.
Okay.
And I put it up on there, and it just got loads of attention. And then Channel 4 made it into a TV show called Extraordinary People. Whether that was like complete coincidence or they just nicked the idea, it didn't really matter because it said to me, "Oh, I've just done something," and a primetime TV channel has picked it up and ran with it. So
wow, nice.
And then I was just getting enough people saying, "Look, you're really good at this, and you really like it. You should do it." So I just changed my course to film. I had it was like the first term at university, so I had 2.5 terms of basically just being an arsehole and dicking about, which was awesome. And then I did the film, and I just became obsessed. It was like an addiction. It was like I kind of just fucking went for it and put my head down and begged, borrowed, and stole, and made stuff. I used my flatmates as puppets.
Yeah.
I then started making films. I was really interested. I've always been interested in like the more sort of people that are condemned as odd people, or strange people, or scary people. So I actually
call them creatives now, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So I made a film called Madness Genius, and I looked at the correlation between madness and genius. And I met these I lived next to a halfway house at university, and there was guys with schizophrenia and bipolar. It was mainly schizophrenics in this house, and I just became really good mates with them, and I found them way more interesting than normal people, in inverted commas. After about a year, I was like, I'd love to make a film about you guys and just show the world that you're not these scary axe murderers that they all think you are, because I think you're fucking awesome people. And I think you're actually geniuses, but because you don't wash and you smell and you walk funny, and don't look like everyone else, people are scared of you. And I did this film, and it won a load of awards, and that didn't really matter. The thing that was really cool is that suddenly people were going up to him on the street and going, "Hey, I saw you in that film. That was amazing. I didn't realize like you were this Oxford Don and da da da. I was really scared of you for a while, but hey, actually." And I saw them actually get better and more integrated into society because of the film. And that suddenly showed me, fuck, actually the film can have such a social impact. And to me at the beginning it was just like fun and strange and exciting and experimenting with angles and how to tell a story through your kit and the tools. But then when I saw the impact firsthand, I was like, shit, this is the real deal. This is what I want to do, because I can actually change perspective, and I can help people as well as have an awesome time and really see things that other people can't see. So it snowballed into how can I make money whilst doing this stuff? And that's when it became a bit more commercial. I became obsessed and just put my head down and went for it. And some stuff got some success, and I then got some lucky breaks. Went to learn.
What is a lucky break to you? Because you obviously come from a school that you had the opportunity to do A, B, C, and D and that sort of thing. What are you classing as lucky breaks? Are you talking about knowing the right people, or did you have a certain amount of income already that you were able to put some time aside to be able to work on some new projects, or like what are you saying when you say lucky breaks?
No, it's a good question. So I didn't have money from my parents, and actually I really wanted to do it myself, because I was kind of proud and was like, I can do this, because they also were a little bit skeptical about me doing it for the obvious reasons, but they were also very supportive. I think fortunate in a way that I know if I'd had a crack and failed, I guess I always knew I could probably go back and live with my parents as a safety net. So it's just a really nice safety net to have, which does give you that little bit extra confidence to take the risk. I think the lucky break for me was it's really knowing the right people, but then being in the right place at the right time, and then taking those opportunities when they come. And I think there's a lot of people like you make your own luck, or or you are just lucky. I think there's a bit of a blend of it all, really. I think you do make your own luck, but there's some clear-cut things, serendipity moments where the doors slide open and then you meet that guy and you elevator pitch him and they like you, and it's like, yeah, all right, cool, I'll take him.
Yeah, but you got to put yourself in that position to be able, for that door to be opened as well. You're right. Yeah, there's certainly a mix. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not out there, you're not going to get noticed, are you? You know, people aren't going to see you. They're not going to come knocking on your door if they've not seen anything per se.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But I think there's definitely times where, you know, I was in the room with a seat at the table, and I probably shouldn't have been there in terms of my skill level. But you know, in those moments, you're like, yeah, I can do that. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah,
confidence,
no problem, man.
Confidence.
Yeah. and you kind of, you know, and some of it, I look back and it's like, oh, was that a bit dishonest? But actually I did the job and I did it well and they liked it. And, you know, so it all turned out all right. I think there's a fine balance, and I quite often, when young people come work with me, or, you know, guys on work experience, I always say, look, you know, there's no shame in not knowing.
Yeah.
But it's really fucking annoying if you pretend you know it and then you mess up. So always ask the question, and don't be afraid to look stupid, because there's no stupid questions in my book. No. And I think that's often the fear I had, which I regret actually, is when working with some great people, I kind of had that sort of imposter syndrome a little bit and was like, I shouldn't really be here, so I've just got to blag my way through it. So occasionally not being brave enough or big enough to say, actually, I don't know what that is. Can you explain it? In the fear of looking stupid and being found out. So, you know, there's a really happy medium, I think, of knowing when to ask, when not. And knowing the person in front of you, if you can ask them and they're not going to judge you, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it is a common theme of a lot of the guests that we've had on, as it has been, you know, early on in the career, a lot of guys and girls will say, I probably shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
But you know, I just had to put myself in that situation and you know,
But then
learn by baptism of fire, as it were.
Yeah. But then I think all of us that are, you know, especially working for yourselves, coming into the industry, you all try and present yourself up a little bit, don't you? Because you want to climb to that next tier to get that next client a bit higher up and a bit higher up. And I think if you don't have the balls to push that a little bit, then those opportunities may not come as often or as keenly. I think you've got to push yourself up there.
Positivity as well can have a huge impact on a shoot as well of whatever it is. If you're feeling, you know, if you're maybe out of your depth and you start to show it a little bit, it could be just an absolute snowball
tumbling down
real quick. Yeah.
Well, in the film world, I'm not so much content, but you know, on film sets, and I worked on TV dramas and films when I was starting, there is a language, you know, there's a specific language they use. And I think they almost invented it to wheedle out the piss takers and the bullshitters. Because if you don't know what the honey wagon is and you don't know these certain phrases that they use for everything, then you look caught like a novice.
Yeah.
You're caught. So it was quite interesting, you know, walking into that world and seeing like this other side. But I sort of very quickly realised that I didn't really want to be in the film world, you know, these huge crews.
Okay.
Because most of the people that I was looking at who I wanted to be in 5 years, when I was 19, 20, 21, they were all looking at their watch, you know, waiting for the day to end.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus, I don't want to be that guy waiting for the day to end.
Yeah.
So I kind of stepped away from that and kind of went round the back way. It's like, I'm just going to make stuff. I'm going to learn on the hoof. Yeah. I'm going to watch YouTube. I'm going to steal people's ideas. I'm going to make stuff.
Put your slant on it.
Shadow people, and attack it that way. Because a lot of the old school guys, you know, they go up through the ranks, a bit like photography, really. You know, where you assist your way up. And the film world is, you know, there's even more levels that you have to go.
More hierarchy.
But I mean, it's a labour of. You've really got to love it to do that, because some of those guys were just like, they just weren't humans. You know, they were.
Are you talking about the hours that you're putting in? Is that what you mean?
I think the hours, but also just the shit that they had to take
to get there.
To get there.
Yeah.
And a lot of my mates now who are, you know, big DOPs or directors. Yeah, they're very angry with people like me who haven't gone through those ranks, but still kind of, made, I don't want to say made it, because I don't think you ever really make it, but it's almost like, not the builders. Oh, look at those hands. You haven't done a day's hard graft in your life, have you? You posh twat. Yeah. You wouldn't know a hard day's work if it hit you in the face. It's like, get out there and lift some stones. It's like, well, no, I don't want to lift stones. I want to do something else. I did lift stones. Don't get me wrong. I went on a building site and I loved it. They called me Spoon.
Why?
Silver spoon.
Oh, right,
Silver
okay.
Spoon.
Yeah.
Make the tea, Spoon. Do you know how to make tea? It's your butler teach you how to make fucking tea. And I would just play out. I was like, actually, you're dead on. My butler has never taught me how to make tea because I make him do it. You're spot on there. But I'm here to get some life experience, so I'll make you some tea. What? And they would start laughing, and they were like, "Oh, you're all right, Spoon. You're funny, aren't you? You're funny."
And going back a cog for our listeners, because not everybody comes from a film world and they're not going to know the terminology. What is a honey wagon for our listeners? Some may not know, mate. Some may not know. It might just be people starting photography.
I had no idea.
You know what I mean?
I got no idea.
Yeah.
No.
They'll be like honey wagon. You can guarantee the majority of male thinkers are going to think honey wagon is something to do with the opposite sex, aren't you?
Yeah. Yes.
Or is that just me?
No, well, you're a dirty man, obviously. I love it.
No, you've built your company up from the ground, and you've grafted for it. Like you say, you begged, borrowed, stole everything to try and make yourself the creative you are today, and sort of make a mark on the map. And you've now become very successful at it. But how hard has that been for you to get where you are today? And what sort of main hurdles did you see to get there?
I think it's difficult to talk about the hardness of it, because I've got tattooed on my arm, make your vacation your vocation. Okay. Make your job your holiday, and your holiday your job, and you work a day in your life. It's kind of what I sort of saw quite early on. I had quite a serious accident 10 years ago, and it was just before I was kind of starting to create my company. I actually broke my neck, C1 and C2. It was a Jefferson break, same one as Christopher Reeve's. And I think 90% of people who have a Jefferson break either die or are paralyzed from the neck down. So I was exceptionally lucky, incredibly lucky. And I think that really made me see the value of time and the value of my life, and how quickly it can all be taken away. So I sort of thought, well, I'm gonna. That kind of made me really motivated to do it even more, because I was like, well, if that can happen, then what's the fucking point of going and working in Halfords and not really enjoying your life? I'd rather, at that point, I was like, I'd rather do something I enjoy and live in a box than do something I hate and live in a mansion. So,
good analogy.
I went for it, and so it didn't actually, it sounds weird, it didn't feel hard, because it's just all I wanted to do. It was like, if I have to stay up all night editing, that's what I have to do. Everything became a stepping stone to that next job, that next shoot, that next working with that person I wanted to work with. And I think that when people talk about going through real hardship, I don't know, I feel a bit of a phony saying that I did, really, because I think there are people like in the film world who really go through the shit and hate their lives for years, but then they get to that point and it feels amazing. It feels incredible. They've really earned that place. And I don't think I say I haven't earned where I've come, but like when people ask me that, I'm like, well, I've actually really enjoyed the shit as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's a tricky one to answer, really. I can't remember. What was the question again? I forgot.
No, that's fine. It was just about, becoming successful and what hurdles you've had to sort of get over to get there. But I mean, I think you've explained that really, really well, to be fair. Yeah.
And you're talking about that eat, sleep, breathe, everything that you do. And, you can really only do that if you really love what you do. And I think that, you're right that some people, say they go through that shit and that sort of stuff. And yeah, of course that happens. But I think some people also don't have the luxury of finding their, true passion, which obviously you did at an early age. It was fortunate enough to just throw yourself into it, which is...
Yeah, that's spot on.
And some people think it's easy and they don't really ever get to understand what the shit is that you got to get through to be successful. And, the majority of these people give up because then they're not really in it for the right reasons. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the earlier days was, bit of sofa surfing and jumping around desks. And then, but I've sort of always been quite fortunate that, what I've needed at that time in my life, I've been able to get, in a sort of just tenacious, put your head down way. I mean, I started my first business when I was 5. There was a production at the house next door. We lived on a farm and there was a big sort of stately home that owned the estate, and they had a production of about 800 people. It was an outdoor theatre once a year, and there was 2 weeks, and basically people would park at the top, and there was a sort of 100-metre walk to the lawn where they'd have a picnic before going on to watch the Shakespeare. And I remember being on my gate and looking, just watching these little old ladies sort of struggling with their picnic baskets. And out of no other reason, just like, I want to help that old lady. I came out and said, can I give you a hand? And she was like, yeah, that's really sweet. Thank you. So I carried her things. I don't think I was 5. I think it was a bit old. I think it was about 9. That was a bit of seasoning, a bit of oregano on the story. I think it was about 9. I actually just wanted to correct. Yeah.
This is just a brief chapter from Pride and Prejudice. Thank you for tuning in.
Anyway, so I helped this lady and I got her. She was, oh, thank you so much. She gave me 50p, and I was like, oh wow, and I suddenly was like, oh, I've just been rewarded. And so I went back. I went and then went up to the top, and I was like, oh, do you want a hand? And I started doing this, just like carrying things. And I came back and I had like sort of £10.
Wow.
And that, as a 9-year-old, it's like, oh my God, how many sweets? I could buy like this much sweets. So it was like, a millionaire. And it felt amazing. I was helping people and getting money. And then I was like, oh, my back's a bit hot. And I was like, Dad, can I borrow your wheelbarrow? And he's like, yeah. So the next day I upped the game when I got the wheelbarrow.
10 ladies at a time.
Yeah. And then basically at year 3, I had like 3 mates, 3 wheelbarrows, shuttle runs, someone doing the counts, just doing like shuttle runs.
The hell?
And then I ended up like taking the farmer's mini lawnmower and putting a trailer. So it literally became like a whole operation.
Then started doing airport runs with luggage.
Yeah. And I think from there I was like, oh, this is great. Suddenly with money, I can buy sweets or those toys, and I don't have to rely on anyone. So I think it gave me the taste very quickly of like, doing good things, you get rewarded, and having money helps do shit. And I don't think money buys you happiness, but have you ever seen anyone unhappy on a jet ski? No.
Only the guy behind the guy on a jet ski.
Damn you, Adams.
So let's just turn this a bit more practical for now. Like, we've got a lot of still shooters who listen to the show, and some of them may not be exactly familiar with what some of your video production crews.
Yeah.
You do a lot of sort of adverts, which is like a couple of minutes. Just length in terms of video. What is the process? You mind just going through the process of like how do you get that job? Where's it coming from? Do you have an agent? Are you sourcing that yourself? And are you getting the crew together? Are you organizing everything and then shooting it? Like, what's that process?
So I mean, like all these things, it sort of comes down to the budget. It comes down to the budget and what it is. So I kind of have a blend of direct clients and then agencies. So I work quite a bit with agencies, PR companies, creative agencies, ad agencies, which is a really nice process. So, we'll do shoots that are, for boutique clients, which is a one-man band, right up to, a 40-man crew for a more, glossy ad. So for those kind of glossy ad stuff, I usually work alongside a producer, and I give him the ideas, and then he'll help put a crew together. I'll probably have some of my regulars, and then he'll put the more sort of specialist stuff together if needs be. So yeah, I mean, it's a hard one to answer because every project's different, a bit like in photography.
Yeah.
But on the whole, you'll have a producer, a director, camera operator, a DOP, and then sound definitely. And then if you've got talent, then makeup artist, stylist. Much like in photography, then locations, sets. I mean, there is a huge amount of more moving parts, pun intended, with the film stuff. Content now is getting, the big ad budgets are gone, and so they're all getting sliced up, and they're wanting lots of little, throwaway hygiene content.
Hygiene content?
Yeah, you have sort of different levels. You call them hygiene, hub, and hero content. So the hero being the top sort of advert of your campaign. The hub content, you're kind of lesser glossy, but kind of, filtered out on a sort of couple of weeks, a month basis. And then the hygiene, which is just for the zombie thumb scrollers that just watch it in a day and then just throw it out. So you kind of, when you go into a lot of those things, that's kind of you look at those sorts of tiers. So they often want to sweat the arse out of the assets. So we look to produce a huge amount in one day. So we might have we'll have a video crew doing the hero stuff. We'll have a BTS crew doing like behind the scenes and more of that sort of hub content, and then we'll have kind of more like work experience juniors kind of doing stories, Insta stories, and things like that. And then often we'll have a stills photographer as well. And we'll have, we might have two photographers, one doing kind of behind the scenes, one doing portraits. So, on those kind of more high level shoots, we're really trying to maximize the day and sweat the arse out of the assets.
Okay.
Nice.
And like, what is the size of your crew then? Do you have like a specific crew that you always work with? I know it's dependent on the job, but can you give me a range? Like even the smaller stuff, is it just down to like 2 or 3 people all the way up to like 25, or is it what is the sort of range of that?
So I prefer operating with smaller crews more just because I operate quite quickly. I like to be quite spontaneous and be able to try things. And if you've got a big crew with lots of lighting and lots of moving parts, then it's a slower machine. So I tend to operate with a crew of about 5. So that would be me directing, DOP and a second camera operator, sound engineer operator, and a sort of production assistant.
Are you shooting as well as directing? Sorry.
Again, depending on the budget,
depending on the job,
or the job. I actually prefer just directing now. Okay. I don't have the need as much to shoot. I used to be way more of a control freak and be like, I have to shoot, I have to direct it, I have to edit it, I have to write the theme tune, sing the theme tune. I want to do it all.
I am the casting crew. I am the star.
Yeah, but then I realised that person's an absolute knobber and isn't really getting it, and actually having people who are much better at those things than you. Specialising, yeah, is a much better way, and actually. It's really fun as well. I love putting a team together. I love shooting with great people who can collaborate, but also take direction and be a fun human being to be around.
Yeah, that's nice. And that's just, what you explained there really is just the production side of it, isn't it? That's just to get all the raw footage done. That's not even including any post-production. So
when you're shooting one of these, let's say, middle of the road, mid-tier productions, and it's like a 2-minute advert, how many hours of footage are you shooting for that?
For a 2-minute, I mean, again, it depends if it's a storyboarded piece.
True.
And we're working with talent, then it's usually a lot more concise. You have what's called a shooting ratio, 1 to 6 being, 1 to 3 being an average, which would 1 minute to an hour. What the first number being in minutes, the second number being in hours. So usually in docs, the shooting ratio is very high, and then in scripted stuff, it's very low.
So documentaries, yeah.
So I tend to I don't really like kind of just a lot of directors is like, just keep rolling. We'll get gold.
Okay, yeah,
You don't want to miss the gold. It's like, well, actually with video cameras, you can have a thing called a cache, which when you press record, it's been recording for 5 seconds beforehand.
Prior, yeah.
So in doco mode, it's really useful because, you know, if you've got a great camera operator who knows what's coming, you know, he won't miss that, you know, that first couple of seconds.
And you guys are billing by the day anyway. It's not like, you know, I take it you're billing by the day. So it's like we have to, you know, we got to get this done in 3 days or a week or whatever it is. So
yeah, it's always by the day. And you know, we always managed to get it done. You know, I don't think I've ever had a shoot where we've ran out of time. I mean, we've gone over time, but you know, we've never ran out and gone, shit, we need to reshoot. I think I have quite a good sense of time and how much time I have for shoot, and I'm very precise to the production manager or whoever it is to tell me, you know, how long we've got left every 10 minutes. You got 10 minutes, okay, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and just to keep me in check.
Keep you in schedule as well, isn't it? Yeah, time is money, as we all know, isn't it? Time is money. Yeah.
So did you ever use any stock or get like a crowdsourced footage? I know some of your, like one of your adverts there is for like an adventure company or whatever it was, and you've got like it seems to have hundreds of real quick edits, you know, real quick cuts in like 2 minutes. I mean, surely
which one was that? Is it iGo?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I shot all that. That was a mate of mine's company. He just said, "Look, I'm doing some really cool shit. You know, I'd love to have you. Obviously, it's, you know, I can't afford big bucks." So I just thought, actually, that's a really cool job. You can pay me a small amount and I'll come do it for you. So that was a one-man band shoot. That was just me. It's kind of back in my heyday of that's what I used to do. So I just went and did it, and then kit. Well, I don't know if you're doing kit bag later, but you know, that was one where, you know, a really solid one-man band shooter kit really comes into its own, where, you know, you can make it look like there's a crew of 20 when you actually do it all yourself. And that was 3 different countries over a year. So wow. You know, we built all that footage
specifically for that job, or are you just dipping into your private archive of
for
clips?
That job
specifically
for that job.
All freshly shot. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Nice.
I try not to use stock if I can.
Is that more? Are you seeing more prevalence of that in the industry now? Of just like a lot of people just using stock as the budgets go down?
It has its place,
Definitely.
I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does have its place. I think it's because with film, it's such a vast landscape of genres, especially with content and the different scales of it. You know, stock is a funny old world, stock footage, because it's very hard to get stock that doesn't look like stock.
Yeah.
It's just always
and it's the same with photography. Yeah, it can look very vanilla and soulless. Yeah.
And because I think the people who supply to stock, obviously they're not getting hired that as much, so they got time to go out and do stock. But the people who, you know, working a lot, it's so time consuming to monetize all that, and to actually, you know, I looked into it. I got asked to be a Getty shooter or like Getty supplier, and I looked into it. I was like, fuck me, it's an awful lot of work for like £40.
Just to supply footage, yeah. It's come down in price a lot.
But those stock shooters do it full time. Like they specifically target their footage to be generic-ish, as it were. So like I get it, you know, because it needs to be, you know. So
what would you say is the hardest part of your job, Archie, in today's modern world? Because obviously, you know, our technologies have changed as well. What's the hardest thing? Is it the business side of it? Is it the equipment side of it, or is it sort of a mixture of both? Or?
Quoting is quite difficult, I think, or justifying some stuff,
especially with all the changes and budgets getting.
So you still all do that yourself, then?
Yeah, I mean, again, if it's a big job, I have a producer that comes in and helps me with the numbers and the figures.
With a couple of wheelbarrows, and they come.
Yeah, they come. You know, I still like to. I think, you know, like any business, it's a horrible cliche, but cash is king. You know, cash flow is so important, and if you don't have an eye on the numbers, you know, you're not around for long. So I've always maintained that I have a financial controller, but I still like to do the invoicing myself. I still like to see what's coming in, see what's coming out. He's overseeing the whole thing and dealing with any nitty gritty, but I still like, because, you know, you don't want to be someone who doesn't pay people on time, and so I like to kind of keep an eye on that. so that I have an understanding of figures, because a lot of the times when I work with people who they don't understand how much things cost. Oh, well, why can't you do that? You're sure you can have a helicopter throw that out? There's not $5,000.
Yeah, they don't understand it in the complexity of a total budget, do they? You know, and how quickly you can burn through cash without realizing so quick.
And just justifying like certain crew members who on the bigger crews, especially, I get calls from people in procurement from big companies like, oh, well, we found a sound engineer who's £20 cheaper than your one, and we suggest using him. I was like, okay, what's his work like? Well, we don't know. He's just £20 cheaper. I was like, well, this is a seriously complex sound job with 4 talents, in-piece ear microphones, this, that, and the other. Does he know any of that? Well, I don't know. As I said, he's £20 less. So it's like, well, it's not like I'm buying a fucking, window. Where it's just. I think there's that. I mean, the crazy thing is I've never been one for like set rates, gold, silver, and bronze packages. But
it's slightly different for your market.
Yeah.
Before we just alienate every single listener we've ever had from the wedding and portrait market. Let's just say there's nothing.
I love you guys.
Pricing structure for that for that demographic.
Yeah.
But for video it's a nightmare. Yeah, there's so many options. Yeah.
Jay, I need you in my life just to be my disclaimer. I spoke to my mate earlier. I said, I'm going on a podcast. He goes, oh, fuck. He goes, well, do you get Final Cut? And I was like, I didn't really ask. Shit. Well, just be careful. Like, oh, yeah. See what happens.
Don't worry. In Dan's podcast, Jake's not aware of this actually, but it went live and Dan went, there's just a detail in there. Can we just remove that? And it was about 2.5 minutes worth of content.
Oh, brilliant.
But you won't notice it. I've cut it seamlessly, so it's fine.
Oh, legend.
But that's after it actually went live around the world.
That was a good Dan, by the way. You did a very good Dan.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. I think that's always tricky. I always just go, oh, how much is this going to cost me? Well, what fucking car do you drive, mate? Yeah. I drive a Jaguar. All right, £600,000. That's always tricky. And I think what is tricky is when you're a passionate filmmaker, and then you make the film, and then you have someone who has absolutely no experience whatsoever in filmmaking gives you a list of feedback that's absolute bollocks.
Yeah.
But you have to get you have to learn to either articulate why it shouldn't be done without making them look stupid, or to suck it up and make the changes and deal with it.
Or just make them look stupid. There's a third option.
But you then don't get hired by them again.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's always been a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Like I had one job and this PR girl, she was like, don't like the music. I was like, oh, okay, well, everything's cut to the music.
Noted.
It's not
music's very. I was like, music's very subjective, isn't it? So some people love it, some people hate it. I don't like it, and I actually go to a lot. I do a lot of nightclubs. I go clubbing quite a lot, so I'm actually quite down with the scene right now. I was like, okay, cool. Well, we can look at that. Says, I don't like those flashy bits. It's flashy bits. Very the flares, the really cinematic sun flares that just drift in and out seamlessly that we got up at 5 a.m. to get. You don't like those?
Skilled feedback then.
Can you take those out? I don't like them. I was like, well, it's quite hard to take out because they're actually purposely done. It's kind of my style. That's why I was hired. Oh, I don't like that. No, I think I'd take that one out. And I in my head, I was like, listen, love, all right? I don't come up there and tell you how to make cups of tea and take people out to lunch, do I now?
If you get my butler does that.
Oh, mate.
Clients. I mean, for everyone, clients I've got some amazing clients who are brilliant and I love them.
Well, you did have,
yeah.
Did have, yeah.
Gone now. But.
Yeah, they've all gone. Actually, you know what? On my website, on my new thing, I started writing copy for my new website, and I put in all this like quite not aggressive, but fairly aggressive language of like, we don't work with wankers. We are creators. Please trust, just trust us, and we'll work with you. But then I started looking, it's like, geez, it sounds a bit self-righteous, but at the same time, like, you don't go into brain surgery and start giving the brain surgeon advice on how to cut your head open. But people think they can because they make films of their kids,
It's a little knowledge. That's the danger. Yeah. It's the same with us with like, I can do it on Instagram, mate. What are you talking about? It's not difficult. You can swap that face. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's funny. I had a comment on one of my images the other day online, and the guy said, I had all these people going, I love the light, I love the image, I love the shot, I love the tones, it's just beautiful. And I had this one comment that really stood out on its own. This guy went, I don't like the background. You should change the background. And then I looked him up. Right? Yeah. I looked him up, and the guy wasn't even a photographer, but he was from a clipping path company.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's why. Brilliant.
Yeah. And I went,
what
do you want about? I said, the background's fine. And then in another comment, I went, oh, don't tell me you're going to offer your clipping path services now. I need to change it out. So it's like...
Yeah. But anyway, before Archie completely derails this podcast with before we all start slagging off everybody.
Right. No, I'm actually, I don't actually like slagging people off, and my rule is that if I slag them off to their face, then it's all right. So every bit of slagging you've heard, I've actually said it to the people. I didn't actually say to that girl about I don't come up there until you had to make cups of tea, but I did take her aside and say, look, you need to let me do my job because this is becoming a bit ridiculous. You just need to trust me.
You are right, though. I mean, people hire you for a reason. That's exactly why they've hired you, is for that reason. I get it. Everybody should have an input, in terms of the client, and sure, but not when it's done, to that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Client management is a real skill, I think, and I think that's why.
Keep working at it, Archie.
Yeah.
Keep working.
Yeah. A few more years yet, mate. You'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually going to go and say I think that's why I'm here, because I think I have more of a refreshing approach with clients, is that I am myself, and some people are like, fuck me, this is a bit much. And
I'm not seeing many testimonials on your website. Just looking for them.
Yeah. Hey guys, can you do a testimonial? We're not allowed to, or we're under NDA. Legally we can't. I'm really sorry. So, but yeah, I think I've always just been like, just kind of tried to say it how it is, but over time learnt to be able to, sometimes I can be really sort of vulgar and garish like I am being with you, but if it's a type of person that would be like, oh, then I will hold it back and be...
Yeah. You gauge it, don't you? You gauge your environment. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we all make mistakes sometimes. I know I have.
Yeah, lots. I've made lots.
Yeah. So getting back to some fun stuff then, because we took you quite deep there, and I could see that sort of happiness started draining out your face when we talk about business.
Very, very passionate.
I noticed you did some work, going back to the work front, the exciting stuff. You did some work with the very legendary Brian Johnson from AC/DC, didn't you? What was that? What were you doing there?
Let me put his hat on.
Our listeners can't see, but he's got the Brian Johnson hat.
All right.
Did he give you that? Or did you steal it?
Yeah, he actually did. Not this one. He gave me his hat. He gave me a hat, and then we were having lunch one day, and it was someone stole it off the thing, and he was like, "Fucking hell, Archie! Oh, don't worry, I'll get you another one, no problem." So he got me another one, and then I left it on a train with him again. And he's like, "I'm not giving you a fucking another one. You lose the bastard." So I bought, and I loved it, and so I bought it. So it's annoying because it's like, I want to be like, yeah, this is Brian Johnson's hat. He gave it to me on set.
And it's not.
We're really good friends. But it's actually not. It's just bought it. So.
And I like the way your accent changed. Your Brian Johnson accent changed in 2 statements. That was amazing.
Yeah, there you go. Oh no, that was me. That was like my sort of alter ego. I love accent. Accents is like my sort of guilty pleasure.
We're going to do an episode with you just on doing accents of stereotypical genres in our world. I think that'd be fun.
British clients, the show.
Clients, yeah.
So we made a show called Cars That Rock with Brian Johnson, which was a car show that kind of, I want to say it rivaled Top Gear because it had decent ratings. And actually when Clarkson punched that poor bugger in the face, because he didn't get his dinner on time, they came knocking to Brian, and Brian was like, "Go fuck yourself, I've got my own car show." And that then everyone was like, "Oh, what's this show?" And it got really good ratings. It was a lot of fun. It was basically madness, but a lot of fun. he is one of the most.
What was it? A car show? You just reviewed cars, or you just basically just went out and got
Cars
drunk
that
and
rock,
stole hats?
Cars that
rock. So yeah, Cars that Rock, and we did. It was on Quest. Which is one of Discovery Channel's channels, and it was 3 seasons, 6 episodes, and each episode was a different car company. So we did Jaguar Land Rover, we did Jaguar Land Rover, Lamborghini, Porsche, Alfa Romeo, like all the kind of big sexy car companies. And then it was a sort of a bit of history. It was a bit of looking at some of the more rare cars, like Brian driving, meeting people. It was a proper car show for like real car enthusiasts. So it wasn't too many like silly challenges, but one of the coolest episodes is actually the Aston Martin one, where we did we did a scene with the stunt driver from Bond. Okay. I can't remember his name now. That's really shit, but he was an absolute legend. And we were driving in a sort of original Bond car, doing drifting and donuts and all sorts. I
saw that,
and yeah, it was super cool.
Did you get to ride in the car with him then for that?
Yeah. So being in the car with him, actually, that was amazing, and not as scary as being in cars with Brian.
All right.
Who is so one we were in America in Atlanta, and we got into like this old it was like a BMW racing car. It's like one of the old racing cars, and it was quite small, and every car I had to do in-car camera stuff with Brian, so I was shooting him in the car, and I got in. I couldn't really fit in the seat. I'm quite a big guy. I'm 6'2", and I was 10 kilograms heavier then as well. I was enjoying the American living. God damn, yes sir. Extra hot sauce. And fucking got in the car. I was squished in like this, like a fucking baked bean it's basically like in a baked bean can, and it was like me in that picture that. And Brian looks over. He's like, "Fuck me, Archie, you're a big bus, aren't you? Because you probably shouldn't be sitting there. You'll be dead if we crash." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I sort of looked out, and the producer was like, "No, you'll be all right." I was like, "Oh, okay." and then the guy came and was like, "Hey, Brian, have you driven one of these before?" And he was like, "Nah, I've never driven one of these in my life." He goes, "Well, it's really easy." "Well, it's not actually that easy because the clutch is over there and this is here." And he started like teaching him. He's like, "Okay, yeah. Da-da-da. And I was like, "Have you never driven one of these before?" He's like, "No." I was like, Jesus. He goes, "It'd be a great way to go though, wouldn't it? In a race car with Brian Johnson." And he just went, and we literally flying around these corners, a couple of skeletons in a biscuit tin, just rattling all over the place. And it was, I mean, I literally shat my pants, got back, and Brian was just like laughing his head off, and he was just like, "Archie's fucking ass was twitching like a rabbit's nose in there, I'm telling you." And I was like green. I got out and everyone was like, "Shit, you're right." I was like green. I was literally about to be sick. But it was a hell of an experience, just that whole show. I mean, we in 2 weeks on season 3 we shot 40 cars.
Wow!
And that was like car sequences and drive-bys, in car, out car, talking. Yeah, it was full on.
So he's a grafter then. I mean, he gets once he gets into the rhythm of it, Jesus, that's a lot.
Yeah, he's a machine. Yeah. I mean, he's in his autumn years, can we say. I'm not allowed to actually reveal how old he is. I just remembered. So Brian Johnson, he's in his autumn years, shall we say, and he's incredible. He's so fit, he's so energetic, he's so excited, and he's generous, and he's just humble. He's just like a proper dude who enjoys having a drink and making good content.
Good content. And is that time when you got out of the car, when you were a bit green, you think, "Oh, shit, I've got to turn the camera on."
None of it was usable.
After all of that.
It's flying around like this anyway. Yeah. So I was going for that really phonetic kind of edgy stuff. So there's so many. I mean, there's some very unbroadcastable, but it was a lot of fun. And
that's the end of part 1 of this episode. And don't go away because part 2 is coming soon. So keep your ears tuned in. Well, folks, if you would like to help us produce and record even more great interviews and content for your ears with some of the world's greatest creative talents, your donations and support is very much appreciated. And if you'd like this episode and don't want to miss out on new episodes, then please make sure you subscribe to us on your chosen podcast player, or you can subscribe to the podcast at podlemania.com/subscribe. And remember, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes Store, Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, and podlemania.com. And please give us a like and don't forget to comment, because that definitely helps our rankings. And another big thanks to Archie for coming on the show. It's been awesome getting an insight. And Archie, thanks ever so much for coming on, man. It's been an absolute blast. And we'll have to get you back for another one. Right, folks, that's a wrap. And thanks for listening. And we will see you in the next episode.